Okay, guys, thanks for checking out the video. I owe everyone who's joined the group chat a big thank you. Really like seeing y'all in there, really building that community. We have over 60 people in the group chat. If you want to join, the link's down below, completely free. A lot of discussion going on there. That's actually where I got the idea for today's video, because I saw someone in there talking about how great Austin Eckler was in 2019. I really hadn't put it into context yet, just because I didn't really have Austin Eckler on any teams. So whenever he was blowing up, I was just kind of turning a blind eye. I was like, that hurts. I mean, he's beating me in all these places, but I mean, he's a real interesting running back to look at. Really polarized. A lot of people love him, a lot of people hate him. So we're going to discuss him. We're going to discuss Melvin Gordon, and then we're going to discuss one more guy that's on that Los Angeles Chargers running back depth chart that people also have polarized opinions on, and I'm one of them. We'll get to him at the very end. But if you have not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We want to get to 1,500 subscribers by the end of the month. Would really appreciate it if y'all do that. So let's jump into it. First, I'm going to talk about Melvin Gordon. I mean, he's the biggest name, whether he should be or should not be out of this group, and he's going to be a free agent. And I'm not excited about him whatsoever. So we all know what happened in 2019. He wanted to get paid. He wanted a long-term extension, and the Chargers would not pay him. And obviously, I mean, in my opinion, that was the right decision. We see what the Cowboys did with Zeke, and we see what situation they are in right now. If you don't really know what's going on, I talked about it in the last video I made about Amari Cooper, and they essentially just put themselves really in a bad spot when it comes to managing their cap situation, because you can't afford to pay these running backs big-time NFL contracts. And we also saw the same thing with the Arizona Cardinals, saw the same thing with the LA Rams, and the New York Jets paying Le'Veon Bell. None of these long-term, big-deal running back contracts end up working out. Chargers were very smart with avoiding, and Melvin Gordon basically told him, fine, you can sit out. You don't have to come. You don't have to get paid. Like, you do you. And then I think week 5, I think, is the week he came back in. And I'd imagine, just off the top of my head, I don't have the numbers here in front of me, but Austin Eckler must have been maybe the number 1 running back overall. Definitely top 3 running back in that span. He was elite. He was winning people their matchups just single-handedly. And now Melvin Gordon comes in, has an unimpressive 2019 season, in my opinion. We'll get into exactly what he did later. But let's look at his profile overall and just ask ourselves, if we are a team and we're looking to upgrade the running back position, are we going to look at Melvin Gordon? Because as of now, he has almost 1,300 NFL career touches. And he's going to be 27 years old. So how much longer do we think Melvin Gordon can hold up? We've seen him have a lot of just small strains, like small injuries throughout his career. Nothing major. I know he had a knee sprain. He had a separate knee surgery. Other than that, I think with a cartilage tear or something back, I don't even want to say when it was, maybe 2016, 2017. I could easily be wrong. But we know that he's a little bit, he's gone through it, okay? He's not a young buck. He's not just new to this game. In the NFL running back position is a demanding position on their bodies. And so we see him kind of breaking down, in my opinion. I don't think he has much longer. And we see this with his 2019 season being his worst season since his rookie year. He only had 3.8 yards per carry. It's by far the worst since his rookie year when it comes to that statistic. And because of that, he only had a little over 600 rushing yards. Again, he did miss the first 4 weeks because of the holdout, but at the same time, you're only rushing for 600 yards in 12 games. I mean, you're just a big-name running back at this point that, in my opinion, it's kind of dust. I don't think he has the talent. I don't think he has the athleticism left. The only thing that kind of saved him in 2019, at least from a fantasy perspective, was his touchdown usage. I mean, in the red zone, he is the running back. He's a big-bodied running back, so they are going to use him whatever team brings him in on the goal line. But in my opinion, that's kind of all he is at this point. He's a decent pass catcher. He's better at catching passes than you would think, but he's just not dynamic enough to really break off any long plays and do anything with the ball in the open field. So I'm just kind of really worried about him. I mean, not only for what team he can land on, what team's going to pay him, I think we're going to see a similar situation to a long time ago. I think it may actually was just last offseason where we saw all these running backs. We saw TJ Yeldon last offseason and Jay Ajayi just kind of sticking around. We thought that they were going to get signed right away. And both running backs that were kind of big name running backs that at some point in their careers. I mean, we know that Jay Ajayi was like a second round startup pick at some point with the Dolphins. He had, I believe, 4 200-yard rushing games. And keep in mind, this is all off the top of my head, so if I'm wrong in anything, leave a comment. Please let me know. And then we know TJ Yeldon was a former second-round NFL draft pick out of Alabama and showed something in Jacksonville. If we look at Melvin Gordon, what's guaranteeing him a job right away in free agency? I see him as wanting a large amount of money that teams aren't going to be able to pay him, aren't going to want to pay him. And I think he's not going to get signed until after the NFL draft. I think he's going to stick around, not really do anything. And maybe as teams go into training camp, maybe someone's willing to pay him if they're desperate. But I'm not excited whatsoever. And let me talk about where he's being valued at right now. In my most recent startup draft, someone took him as the RB22 and at the very end of the 6th round. And just saying that doesn't sound that bad because the running backs he went ahead of nothing really stood out. I mean, I may rather have like a Kareem Hunt instead of him and a couple players in that range. But if we just look at that range of the draft and where the wide receivers went after him, that's where there was a major inefficiency. He went right in front of Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, and Michael Gallup. And in my opinion, if you can trade Melvin Gordon for any of those 3 wide receivers, I'm doing that 100% of the time because I think that those wide receivers have both a higher ceiling than Melvin Gordon has in 2020 and a lot higher floor, especially long-term floor. I think Melvin Gordon could be, kind of out of the league by 2021. And I know people are not going to want to hear that, but he's going to play 2020 at 27 years old. And then 2021, he's going to be 28. I've already discussed how many touches he's had throughout his career. I know people are not going to like to hear this, but there's a chance that Melvin Gordon has no value after 2020. So he's a guy that I'm kind of really selling for anything I can get. I'm selling for any first-round rookie pick in Superflex leagues, and I think you can find an owner to do that. So if you have Melvin Gordon, I definitely would sell him now. Try to talk up the owner, say, hey, he's about to hit free agency. Maybe he goes to Tampa. Maybe he's with Bruce Arians, but my opinion, that's not going to happen. I think he's going to have a lot harder time than he expects, and it's not going to be pretty. Now let's talk about an exciting running back, Austin Eckler. Well, we talked about the wear and tear Melvin Gordon has had on his body with close to 1,300 NFL touches. Eckler only has about 400. So Eckler is really fresh. I mean, he hasn't been beaten down. He's only going to be 25, which is 2 years younger than Melvin Gordon, and he's a restricted free agent. So this means the Chargers can pretty much keep, if they want him, they're going to keep him. And I definitely expect that to happen with them letting Melvin Gordon walk. So we know the situation Austin Eckler is going to be in 2020. I do think it hurts him that Phillip Rivers is leaving the Chargers because we saw Phillip Rivers was just a check down machine. He couldn't really push the ball down the field. So it was a perfect match for Austin Eckler's skill set because, Rivers didn't have the arm to do anything else but throw the ball to Austin Eckler. And we see this with Austin Eckler's 92 receptions in 2019. How many running backs had more than that? Christian McCaffrey? I don't know. That someone in the Discord chat this is exactly what they were talking about, is how many receptions, and he had almost 1,000 receiving yards in 2019. I think that the stat they brought up is, I think only Christian McCaffrey and maybe one other running back, but off the top of my mind, I can't think of who the other running back would be that had more receptions than Austin Eckler. And not only was he impressive catching the ball, he ran for 4.2 yards per carry. He was electric, he was dynamic, and he could just make defenders miss and move the ball up the field. He was really one of the best weapons that the Los Angeles Chargers had in 2019, just due to the inability for Phillip Rivers to get the ball down the field. They kind of built their offense down. If you just watch Chargers games, there would be drives where I was a big Mike Williams fan going into this year. So it was really frustrating just seeing them just script everything around Austin Eckler with these small dump offs. They'd pretty much clear the field, and Austin Eckler would be one-on-one with a linebacker, dump the ball off to him, and he can consistently make that first defender miss. He's just very, very dynamic and has great moves with the ball in his hands. The only problem with him is He only has a 32nd percentile BMI. So the main question with Austin Eckler is what kind of workload can he hold over the rest of the season? I mean, he was a workhorse through the first 4 weeks, but I don't know if he would have been able to manage that through a 16-week season. Doesn't really matter, because if his floor is 90 receptions, he's going to, at worst, be in running back 2. And I think he has the ceiling to be a low-end running back 1. And where you can get him, this price is definitely worth it. I mean, he is being drafted. He got drafted one spot ahead of Melvin Gordon in this draft. One spot. They went back to back. He was drafted at the 6-11. So I think if you can draft Austin Eckler, even as your running back 1, if you want to go super wide receiver heavy and then get a couple of QBs in a super flex league, I think he has the floor and ceiling combination to not only win you your league, but also to make sure you're not going to lose your league. So Austin Eckler, super safe pick, also an upside pick. I mean, and I've never been an Austin Eckler fan. I've never had him on a team, and I think I'm going to go out and try to change that this offseason. Now let me talk about someone that people are getting excited about, who is a backup to Austin Eckler right now, and they're just excited because Melvin Gordon's leaving. They're saying, oh, he's going to slide into the running back 2 role. He's athletic, and he was a big-time producer in college, and that is Justin Jackson. And I will say this with Justin Jackson right now. I'm not going to talk about him in depth, but the thing about him is he has a 0 percentile BMI. This man is small. He is never going to be able to win you your league. At best, he's going to be a spots. I mean, you can plug him into your lineup if you have injuries and depth and just depth problems overall. But really, not a guy I'm investing in. Not the only thing I would give for him is a roster spot. Like if he's on your waiver wire, definitely worth a pickup. But I mean, I would cash out for 2023rd. I mean, you're definitely going to be able to do that as soon as Melvin Gordon leaves, because I'm telling you right now, I'm just thinking of podcasters off the top of my mind that are going to be pumping up Justin Jackson just so they have something to talk about, just so they can be like, oh, this is my guy, like he's fun, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, he has no long-term upside just because no team investment, doesn't have the body to ever be able to handle a significant workload. Not investing in him myself. Would pick him up off the waiver wire, not give anything for him. But thanks so much for watching the video, guys. As always, if you disagree with me, leave a comment. I love reading them. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like.